Today we're going to learn the basics of creating a UI in MEL. I have a bit of a cold today, so I apologize for the sound of my voice, and I'll do my best not to clear my throat into the microphone. So we'll start by opening up the script editor. The first thing I always do is clear the top pane, which I've already done. It's just distracting for me to see all that history up there. So we will start with the window command. So we'll type window. We'll specify a title, demo window. And that's just this text that appears at the top here. Next we'll give it a width and a height. So width will be 300 pixels, height will be 150 pixels, and then we need to give it a name so that we can refer to it later. So we'll call this test window. Now if we run this command, excuse me, you can see that it works, but it doesn't draw anything because Maya creates the window in the background, but it doesn't draw a window until we explicitly tell it using the show window command. So we'll say show window, and then we'll use test window, which is the name that we created a second ago. Now if we run this command, we can see that our window appears, and it's got our title that we chose, and it should be 300 by 150 pixels in size. And I'll close that. Now if we run this command again, while it's open, we're going to get an error that says test window is not unique. To avoid this error, it's common practice to just delete the window at the beginning of a script. So we'll start by testing if the window exists. Window exists, test window, and you have to enclose that command in backticks. So if window exists, test window, delete UI, test window. So now this first line, we'll check to see if this window exists. If it does, it'll delete it, and then we will create the window again and show it. So if we run this, we're still getting error that says test window is not unique. That's because I have a typo here. There we go. So now if you look real closely, when I run the command, this will disappear for a split second and then reappear. Ready? Now. Excuse me. Great, so we have a window. The next thing we want to do is put some things in the window. Now the way MEL does layouts is hierarchically. So first we're going to create a column layout, which will create a single column that runs down this window. So we'll say column layout. I'm going to specify a number of columns as 1. Then we need to give it a name, so I'll call it master layout. And to help me keep track of the hierarchy of these UI elements, I like to indent this to show that it lives inside of this window. If we run this, nothing really will change because there's nothing in this column layout to show. So picture that this is one column, and now we want to add a row within that column. So we're going to make a new line, indent, to show that it lives inside of the column layout. We'll make a row layout. And, oops, we don't actually want to specify a number of columns for a column because it is a column. Okay, so row layout, number of columns, 2. And we are going to call this layout 01. So now, inside this window, we're going to have one column, and on the first row of that column, we'll have a row with 2 columns in it. And just to help you visualize that, I'm going to add a couple of buttons. So I'm indenting again to show that it's within this row layout. And we're going to make a button. And we're going to add a label to it called My Button. And we're going to name it button 01. We're going to add another button labeled Other Button, and we're going to call it button 02. So now when we run this command, we've got our window, we've got one column, and then within that column we've got a row with two columns. The first column gets my button, and the second column gets other button. Now if we want to add another row, we'll say row layout, number of columns, let's say 3. And now if we don't specify anything else, this will live inside of that row layout, which will get a little weird. So we're going to say it's parented to the column layout. So parent is master layout, because that's the name that we put right here. And we're going to call this layout of 02. Now we'll add text that says this is a text item. And we're going to call it text01. And then in the next column we're going to add a text field. We're going to call it field01. And in the third column we're going to add another button labeled last one. We call it button 03. Alright, so let's run this command and see what it does. So we got an error here, line 9, too many arguments. So line 9 is this text item here. So I'm going to look up my help file. And I'm going to find the text command and see where I went wrong. Okay, so let's go down to the examples. So it looks like I forgot the label command. Text label. This is a text item. Let's try this now. Here we go. So we've got our window. We've got a single column layout. The first row has 2 columns, each with a button in it. The second row has 3 columns. The first one has text. The second one has a text field that we can type something in. And the third column has a button. So that's how we create a MEL layout, and you can keep going and make this as complex as you want. You can check out the options in the documentation for buttons and text fields and such. You can change colors, it's pretty cool. What happens if we want to make these buttons do something? That's where we use procedures from last week. So for some reason, it's customary to put your window code at the bottom of a MEL script. So here we're going to make a very simple procedure. We're going to call it proc my proc. Don't need any arguments. And we're going to say print it worked. Now under this last button, before the name, we're going to give it a command. So -C for command. And then what is the command? It's going to be my proc. Okay, let's try this out. Looks like we've got some more errors. And it looks like a syntax error around line 3. And I can see what happened is I forgot to put a semicolon here to finish that command. Let's try this again. We still have an error. I think that I shouldn't have put parentheses here. There we go. So we've got our window, we've got our layouts, and then when I hit this button here, MEL printed out it worked. So that's the basics of creating a window with MEL. There's a lot more information in the lecture this week, but I hope this was helpful to you guys.